Mostly, I just wanted to understand like what is your reading of my performance so far? What do you think I can maybe work on more?
For that, I think I'll need to study your error log before I comment, Pranit.
So for verbal, as you suggested, like I have an Excel file in which I'm marking which answers I got right, which did not get right. For quant, I have like the notes in my register. I can like very easily put them on an Excel
Hmm.
and go about it. But quant, like there's some backlog that I have that I need to sort of catch up on.
Hmm.
Verbal, I'm like pretty much on pace with everything. Like everything is happening on time. But with quant, it's just like there are some things that I still need to work on that I already know. Just the differences between GMAT Focus and GMAT, because GMAT Focus, I think the scoring algorithm is slightly different.
Mhm.
So I just wanted to understand like how does it exactly work?
See, scoring algorithm, obviously, because the raw scores are different, right? So a
Mhm.
7.5 is equivalent of a 760. You can think of it as if these are two different exams. For instance, that there is a GRE equivalent score converter on Google, for
Mhm.
instance, right? So if you score like a 333 or a 334 on the GRE, that's equivalent
Mhm.
of a 760 on the GMAT. It just depends on the percentile. So 705 is a
Understood.
99th percentile. On the classic version, 760 was a 99th percentile. You're focusing on completely the wrong aspects because now you don't have the option to choose between one or the other exam. Right?
Mhm.
Earlier, until January, people had the option to either go for focus or the classic version. So in that
Mhm.
case, they kind of used to ask me, okay, which is easier in terms of, the algorithm, the strategies, what's easy to implement on the day of the exam. So then that particular discussion used to be fruitful because I could guide them that, okay, this one makes more sense given your strengths and weaknesses. But the fact
Understood.
that it's already retired now.
And just a little bit on the scoring. So when you say like you need a 99% self score, or let's say if I'm targeting a perfect score or a 100 percentile, like what is the room for error, or what is the scope for error? Like you can get like maybe a couple of questions wrong and still be in that range, or do you have to like do every question perfectly and you have that like pressure that you have to answer every question correctly?
So there are two things that the scoring algorithm takes into account. One is the accuracy, and the second
Hmm.
is the difficulty of questions.
Yeah.
So it's not just relying on accuracy alone. Like there are people who made 3 mistakes or 4 mistakes, and they've
Hmm.
scored worse than people who made 5 or 6 mistakes.
Hmm.
And the reason was that they made those 3 or 4 mistakes on extremely easy problems.
Hmm.
Right? So I'm saying that both of these things have to be taken into account. It can't be just based on accuracy alone. Easier questions, you'll end up getting penalized so much that even
Hmm.
if you try to recover by getting all the other questions right, you wouldn't be able
Hmm.
to recover still.
What might the timeline look like? What pace do I need to have to ensure that I am able to stick to my timelines?
After the classes get over, it gets very personalized to a student's performance.
Hmm.
On average, people take about roughly 1.5 months after the classes get over to take their exam.
I'll just sort of compile some of the errors. I'll just compile some of the quant things, and then maybe share that with you, so you can maybe share some more insights on what I need to focus on more and what I might be, where I might be going wrong. I
Yeah,
think that might be helpful.
100%. How is the practice and the preparation shaping up so far?
Data insight, I feel comfortable with. I think I did not do too well on the two-part analysis first, because what I noticed was I was making this error again and again, wherein it was like cause and effect questions, or if it mostly. So I would identify the two options that are correct. Verbal, I think, has been going good so far. I think the accuracy scores for assumptions in the first 40 questions, it was 83%. In the next 45 questions that I also did.
The fact that you've already achieved around 85-90% accuracy on an average across these topics is commendable because mostly in CR, as I told you in the class also, it's one of those areas that takes the maximum time for people to master.
Hmm.
Right. So I'm honestly very happy with the overall progress, the stats that you shared. To be able to bump it up further to 95-100% accuracy, one, clearly making sure that mistakes don't become a pattern is very important.
Hmm. Yeah.
And for that, it's not just about keeping a tab of what mistake you made, but also understanding why did you make a mistake and what you need to do to avoid it. With every mistake, you have to have these 3 columns, like what mistake, why did you make it, and what do you need to do to avoid it. Lastly, I think it's about focus and concentration, right?
Hmm.
A lot of the times people essentially end up messing up the questions after reaching a certain level because they're not able to maintain that level of focus throughout the preparation. So
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
of lapse in concentration, they end up making a mistake here and there. With
Hmm.
those short-term targets, I've seen people are able to propel their concentration levels and stamina to a point where they can keep kind of like incrementally increasing the targets for themselves and raising the bar and reaching that
Hmm.
1 hour, 1.5 hour at peak concentration levels. So three things, right? One, error log. Second,
Yeah.
making sure that you're keeping a track of focus and concentration as well. And thirdly, as I said, like making sure that you have a clear strategy in terms of what to do to avoid the mistakes you made in the past will allow you to be able to bump it up to 95, 100%. You're already there.
Mm-hmm.
I think you can
Yeah.
get a little faster if in case you're a bit more strategic about this.